Alright, this is your last video for 6.4. This will wrap it up. You've learned all of the rules that you'll need. So you'll need your power rule, quotient rule, negative exponent rule, and all of those different things for this particular video. We don't have anything new to discuss. The only thing we have new to discuss is exponents that are fractions. I know we love fractions. So you will need a graphing calculator or a scientific calculator for this one that can do fractions. You just need to know the right buttons to press. And I'll kind of throw up my calculator as well to show you some different things on there to make sure you know how to do it. But for the most part, you just need to know how to use your calculator so that you can type in fractions when we add or subtract them. So let's get to it. I'll do a couple examples in each of these sections. I'm not going to go through like 50 of them. There's going to be like 2 examples per section, so it might be like 6 or 8 problems that we actually discuss in this video. So 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, we did that before. X to the 1 plus x to the 1/2. Right, we add exponents, so that's x to the 1 and then plus the 1/2. Okay. And then we also have this minus 1 here, so minus 1, okay? So 1 minus 1 plus 1/2. And then we have the y's. We have 2/3 minus 1, okay? 2/3 minus 1. 2/3 right here, minus 1. Or it's plus a negative 1, however you want to write it. But now using your calculator, you should get 9. 1 plus 1/2 minus 1 is 1/2, so x to the 1/2, okay? And then y, 2/3 minus 1 is actually negative 1/3. Well, remember it says only positive. Well, how did we deal with negative exponents in the last video? We flipped them. We put them into the denominator. So my answer is 9x to the 1/2 over y to the 1/3. All right, that's all we're doing. It's the same exact stuff. It's just now with fractions in your exponents. It's the same stuff. That's why you're using your calculator. Okay, let's go to the next problem. All right, let's do number 2 here. Again, we want to combine variables and numbers and so on. 1 times 2 is 2. M, 5/3 we have. And then what else do I have? I have 7/4 plus 7/4. And this is n to the 5/4 and then plus 1/4. Okay, so if you don't know how to type this into your calculator, I don't have your version of a calculator, but I have my version of a calculator, and my calculator is pretty awesome. So here's my calculator right there. Alright, that's mine. Okay, so let's figure it out here. So I'm going to type in 5/3 plus 7/4. So 5/3, I'm going to do this. 5 divide by 3, and then plus 7/4 plus 7 divide by 4. Oops, I got to go back and do that. Okay, and then I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to give me some of this. But if you have a graphing calculator, you can hit the math button, then hit the fraction, and then it'll give you a fraction as 41/12. So it's going to be 2 times m to the 41/12. And then now let's do the ends here, right? So parentheses, 5/4. Some of you, if you have a scientific one, you're going to use the ABC button for a calculator for your fractions. But that's how you would type it in, okay? So ABC, and just do all that different stuff, and then you should be good to go. And that's 1.5. Again, I want a fraction, so I'm going to do that. And that's 3/2. So then this should be n to the 3/2, and that is your answer for that one. Okay, I'm not going to spend much time on a calculator anymore because we should know how to type it in. I mean, it's not the first time we've done fractions, so we should be good to go there. Let's go to the next problem. Okay, here we go. So let's look at this one here. What do I notice about the 2 and the 4? They can be reduced to 1/2. Okay, x to the negative 7/4. How do I make this positive? I have to put it in your denominator. Okay, how do I make this here positive? I have to put that down with the y that's already down there, right? This is already down there. So then my answer is 1 over 2 x to the 7/4 y to the 4, because I have to add these two together. I get 4. That is your final answer here. Okay, let's look at this one here, and then we'll go on to some harder ones as well. Can I reduce the 4 and the 3? I cannot, so the 4 and the 3 have to remain. Make all of these positive that are negative. So y to the negative 1/2 goes to the bottom. X to the negative 5/3 goes to the top. And then I still have y to the 3/2 on the bottom. So what happens? Well, the 4x to the 5/3 is going to stay on the top because I don't have anything to cancel with the x's. The 3 stays. I'm going to do 1/2 plus 3/2. You can probably do this in your head, but that's actually y to the 2 power. If you can't, again, use a calculator, but that's what you get for your final answer on 4. Let's go to this one here. This one's like really complicated because I have like parentheses and then another parentheses, and then I have like 3 exponents. It looks like those dolls that get bigger and bigger and bigger, or smaller and smaller and smaller. When you open one up, there's another one inside. I think they're like nesting dolls, right? Like you have one big one and then you open a smaller one and the smaller one, smaller one, smaller. It kind of looks like there. But so let's get to it. So what I want to do first is I want to do this first. Okay, I want to do this first because we do parentheses first, and then I do parentheses inside of parentheses. So that's where that comes first. So I still have x to the 4/3 times, and now this is actually 2 times 2 is 4 divided by 3. So that's 4/3 as well, to the 3/4. Okay, so I have x to the 4/3 times x to the 4/3 to the 3/4. X to the 4/3 and 4/3, I add them. That's actually going to be 8/3. So x to the 8/3 times 3/4, so to the 3/4 power. Multiply them, right? So that's going to give you x to the 2 power. All of that hard stuff right here broke down to x to the 2. That doesn't make any sense, but that's how math works, right? Next one up. Let's do this one here. So let's remember I have to multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply. So I get x to the 7/16. If you need to multiply fractions on a calculator, do that, please. Y to the 5/16 over x to the -1/4, y to the -1/2. Once I multiply on a calculator, if you need it, go ahead. Equals x to the 7/16, x to the 1/4. How did I get 1/4 up top? I had to flip it. Y to the 5/16, y to the 1/2. I had to flip it up, right? Make it positive. So now let's add these two together. So x to the 7/16 plus 1/4 is actually 11/16. Again, use your calculator. And then 5/16 and then 1/2 added together is 13/16. Hope I did the math right, but I think I did. So that's your answer for number 9. So these are your exponents: x to the 11/16, y to the 13/16. All right, this will be the last example that is done. This should be it. If you can do this one, then you should be able to do them all. Okay, again, I want to multiply, 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 and multiply. So here we go. Let's rewrite it. X to the -9/2, y to the 3/2. Again, calculator, calculator. X to the 3, y to the -3/4. X to the -3, y to the 9/2. If you don't like my singing, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. I just want to get these done with. So make them all positive. Make them all positive. Make them all positive. Equals. I got y to the 3/2 up top already. I got another y to the 3/4 that's coming up. I have an x to the 3 on the bottom, an x to the 9/2 on the bottom. Oh, I have an x to the 3 on top, and that looks good. But then I also have y to the 9, y to the 9/2 also on the bottom. So now let's cancel. X to the 3rd and x to the 3rd are the same, so they can technically get canceled. So I'm left with x to the 9/2 on the bottom. And on top, if I add these together, that's actually 9/4. And then I have 9/4. And then I have y to the 9/2 on the bottom. Remember, we have to subtract if we have opposite powers. So in your calculator, I'm going to take 9/4 minus 9/2. So I do this and I get -9/4. Okay, what this means is this negative means it's in the denominator. So your answer is going to be x to the 9/2 in your denominator. That was fine. Then y to the 9/4, and then in your numerator, so you should have a 1 in your numerator, nothing left up there. You are good to go. All right, that concludes this video. So if you need help, look at the previous ones, but you should be good to go.